The first jump easily made. Will he go for and get the point buzzer?
This may sound crazy, but I really want to make sure I am in the correct session.
Okay, is this Tamarla? Tamarla, this is Dr. Stedman.
Yes.
Kim, you're in Dr. Stedman's group.
Okay, because I was looking for Dr. Lamb for the 7 o'clock session with Dr. Todd.
Okay, I don't know anything about that, Tamarla.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're okay.
Now it all depends on how quickly he goes through this last voice.
Let me see. Recording, so there we go. I'm recording. I was in the middle of doing all this whenever anyway, happy Tuesday. Most of you, I know you're through with your regular school year job, but many of you have already started working with whatever the summer programming opportunities are. And I know you're busy, you know, with everything going on still. But Dr. Revis, can you believe that today is basically the halfway point? This week
Oh my
will
goodness.
represent the halfway point. We've got 11. I deliberately built 11 weeks in there because of, you know, we had that opportunity. So that last week is really for their project that you're going to talk about tonight. But this week officially is what we would consider the halfway point for this program. You're almost there. Want to just briefly go over what tonight's going to look like. It's jam packed, and so you need to make sure that you're paying full attention to everything that's going on. Hold off on pretty much any questions until Dr. Revis and I get through. Then we'll give you that chance, because chances are, if you wait until the end, most of the questions will be answered for you anyway. I do want to give a shout out to Michelle and Ashley. Both of them have successfully completed all work for the CAAP. Their work has been graded, and both of them have got fours, high fours. So congratulations to both Michelle and Ashley for a job well done. Comments about all work for week 4. I will say that the quality of the work was good. I was pleased. I didn't have a lot that I had to send back. And what I did have to send back, it was there was a quick turnaround with it. You got it back into me. There's a couple of 3 of you that still owe me work for week 4. I'm moving on. And if you go to Blackboard, you'll see that that's my place value is a 0 right now. It's left up to you for me to be able to change that. You know, I'm moving on with week 5. If there's an issue or problem, you should communicate with me. If you need help, you should reach out to Dr. Revis or me and let us know. But we must move on to week 5. So as far as week 4 is concerned, it's over with. If you need me, you reach out to me. I'm not going to do, I've got place values in where your grades are. It's your responsibility to get with me and to do, you know, what you're supposed to do. So I'm going to leave that alone. What is going to be due this week, week 5? Task 4 of the CAAP. I'm not going to go over it again unless you have questions. I've gone over it and gone over it and gone over it. If you have questions, then you need to reach out to Dr. Revis and me about that. It has to be submitted for peer and instructor review. And you may say, well, that's redundant. And it is a little bit under the circumstances with how we're having to do our summer classes, but it's important that I see it so that I can know that it's ready and you can make any adjustments to it before it's submitted for that final grade. But you've got to do both of them. And it's almost like you're doing them back to back, but I do need to see it for instructor review and peer review first. Then your final grade, then the task 4 CAAP, 1 peer review is due as well. And then once you get all that done, you should already have it put together so that you've got all 4 of the tasks together, and you submit it for a final as a final document, and it's from there that I will approve it for the Turnitin process, and then you'll submit it for Turnitin, and then I'll tell you from there whether you can submit it for a final evaluation in Taskstream or not. All of that, unless you communicate with me and there are circumstances that I need to deem relevant to what you're telling me, all of this must be cleared by Sunday night of this week. So it's important that you use your time wisely. I will tell you, follow the advice that you've been given, use the examples that's in Blackboard, follow my my notes and my helpful hints documents, and you'll be fine. The 2 that have Michelle and Ashley, they had no problems and they had done everything that I had asked them to do. So if you have questions or that you have issues, you need to reach out to Dr. Revis and me about that. In addition to that, I will say the week 4 assignment, for the most part, all of you responded well to that activity, learned a lot about you, and you should be learning a lot about yourself, because remember, I told you a lot of what you do this semester is a self-reflection, learning about yourself. So that activity was just an opportunity to dig deeper and learn more about yourself as you do week 5 activity, and several of you have already completed that. Some excellent responses. I've enjoyed reading them as well. And I like the way that some of you that have already done week 5 assignment, how you've gone back and you have you even related to some of the things that you read and learned about in week 4. So I like the way that you've tied all of that in. Just make sure that you give me the quality work that I know that you're capable of doing. What we're going to do this evening, and Dr. Revis is going to remind you of some major task stream requirements and some dates. And then I'm going to hit the evidence 6, the SIAP, very, very hard. So please, I said, pay attention. And then after I get through with that, Dr. Revis is going to introduce your assignment 11, which is basically, I would consider it like a major exam grade at the end of the semester. So, I'm looking for quality work, and I'm looking for the teamwork that is coming together for this assignment. I would remind you, do not wait until week 8 to read your strength base finder book and working on those activities. Week 8 will be here before you know it. You have 2 more case studies that you've got to do, so you need to map those out and make sure that you know who's going to be responsible for being the Zoom captain and moving forward with that as well. Before I ask Dr. Revis to speak about task stream requirements, does anybody have any questions at this point about anything? Any questions? Everybody knows what you have to do and where you are. Okay. Dr. Revis, if you would just speak to task stream requirements for the next few minutes. Then I'm going to come out of this because I need to come back to my Blackboard page.
Okay, guys. Well, first of all, let me say congratulations. You are almost to the finish line. And I know that has to feel really good for you. Here's some important dates. And I know that we've told you these before, but just as a reminder, all evidence work, and that's, you just got left after next week or this coming week, you just got left the SIAP, has to be in Taskstream by July the 19th. All evidence work in Taskstream by July 19th. By July 26th, you have to have your School of Ed dispositions completed, your folio, your competency folio completed, uploaded, and evaluated, your this semester's internship log. And remember, once you get this semester's internship log approved, and I'm the one that approves that, then I will tell you to put them all together, and you have to upload that to your DRF folio. So there is a process. Don't wait to the last minute to do that. And you have to do your competency analysis. Remember, the competency analysis is a self-assessment on the competencies different from your competency folio. So guys, go ahead and do your dispositions, School of Ed dispositions, knock that out. I encourage you, as you finish the CAAP, go into your competency folio and add in any of the evidence, the artifacts that you can pull so far for this semester, and start working on your 3rd round of artifacts for your competencies. Don't wait until you finish the SIAP to do that, or excuse me, SIAP to do that. Go ahead and let's get those done. And remember, you're going to request comments to me, and I will go in and look at these. Now, I hope you've been keeping up with your competency folio, and I'm going to go in and check. I'm going to use some time this week to go in and check and see where you are. And that your coach from previous semesters have given you approval and feedback on all those artifacts. So remember, all these things have to be completed by July the 26th, completed, uploaded, and evaluated. So you cannot wait to the last minute. Dr. Stedman, did I leave anything off?
No, I think the reflection, because it's their last semester, there also is in Taskstream where you have to do a reflection for Dr. Lamb about the program. So that is a requirement as well.
Right, I think that's called an exit reflection. Yeah,
it is an exit reflection.
And you will
that's important because
request that.
he uses that as towards trying to improve things in the program that we need to improve, you know, as you provide comments, you know, about your experience in the program. So, but if you in Blackboard, this is where we are beginning. And I'm not going to click on all these because we don't have time, but this is where you will find it. This is the SIAP is the sixth of the five, the sixth of the six evidences that you will be completing. The SIAP stands for the School Improvement Action Plan. And I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. This is where it breaks down the task and the prompts. This is where you'll find what it requires of you to be able to be considered for accomplished work. Everything, you know, it's that section where it says you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and you got to do this. This is the SIAP guidance. This is where I will come back to in just a few minutes, because this is where I'm going to guide you. This is where your helpful hints document is that I'll be using. And there's also a SIAP template in there that you can follow. I will be actually, let me click on that. Come out of it in a minute. Okay. This is, there's a PowerPoint in there from a previous instructor, but this is your template. Now, I want you to look at this template and realize that it's a pretty basic. Well, are you gonna work or not? Let me hide the thumbnail.
It's at the bottom.
There it is. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I got it now. I got it. With this, again, it's your final evidence. This page, your name here. But then I want you to look. Remember when we talked to you at the beginning of the semester, we said that if it's in black, that it stays. If it's in yellow, that's highlighted in yellow because that means you've got to write something. Narrative work is going to go there. And then if it's in red, those are just some indications of where you can go and find information. It's helpful hints. And once you find it, that red goes away. The yellow highlighting goes away and everything in black stays. But this is just a skeleton that I will be breaking down for you tonight, but use this and, you know, and again, follow it and use this as you know, as best you can as an example to follow for completing your SIAP work. Just a reminder that you will not, there is not a SIAP example that that you're going to be able to follow this semester. You're pretty much, you're on your own. You're on your own with this. Let me come back over here. I want to come. That's not the one. I'll find it in a minute, guys. I'm sorry. There it is. Wanted to let you know too that I have placed in here a new section that you may not have been familiar with because it wasn't in there. I didn't realize that when the course was made that it was not put in there. When you complete, although you're going to do, there's 2 deadline dates for the SIAP, you're going to still submit them to me one at a time because I don't want you to go into the next task without the first one being what it needs to be. So this is where you will submit each of your tasks for me only. There are no peer reviews. There's no, nobody else is going to look at this but me and Dr. Revis if I feel like that she needs to look at it as well, or if you feel like she needs to. But this is where you'll click on this and you will find this is where you'll submit task 1 for my review. And from there, I will tell you whether you're ready to move on to task 2 or not. So, or task 3 once you get to task 2. So this is where you will provide the work that I'm going to be talking about this evening for me to review. And then again, it's the same thing with the Turnitin check. You will follow the same steps that you did with the CAAP. This is where Dr. Revis was talking about your competency folio. This is another, this is where you'll find information that will help you with that. So just know that Dr. Lamb has placed some information for your Taskstream final assignment guidance. There's some help in there to help you with those things that Dr. Revis was talking about. I want to come back to the SIAP guidance. And again, this document is going to be vitally, vitally important over as you're completing your SIAP work. Let me here I am. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but it's important that I've taken a lot of time and I've highlighted things, I've color-coded things so that emphasizes the importance of some things. But if you'll follow this and you'll do what I ask you to do, then your job will be much simpler as you're moving forward with this last evidence. Okay, the 5 evidences that you completed, at this point, you should realize that everything that you've done is the overall plan for effectively leading and managing a school. This is in essence all the ingredients for your school improvement plan. And all of you have worked with school improvement plans. You know pretty much, you've probably served on the school improvement team, SIT team at some time, but you've been a part of that process. Evidence 6, which is the School Improvement Action Plan, is the opportunity to now combine all of the research and all of the work that you've done in evidences 1 through 5. You're going to put it all together, what needs to be put together, and you're going to formulate an overall plan that's going to be used for systemic school improvement. Now, I know you've heard this in previous semesters, so I don't want you to get this mixed up, and I can't emphasize this enough. While you are allowed to use any of the information you have already completed, and there's a lot of it that you're going to use, notice what I've said. You do not want to simply do a copy and paste. You will do copy and pasting, but it's not just a simple going here, pulling it and putting in a document and say, aha, I'm through. Everything is available for use, but is to be used only as needed and as it applies to the rubric and guidelines for completing the SIAP. Case in point, you did a lot of work when you started this program with the APSL. You're going to pull a lot of work from the APSL, but I don't need to see the whole APSL. You won't need the whole APSL, or you won't need all the APSL in one place. If there's information that you need from the APSL, then you will go back to the APSL and you will find that information and you will put it in the SIAP where it's needed as you need it. When your cover page is no different than the ones you've done for evidences 1 through 5, you only put your name there and the rest of it is evidence 6. The background information and description of the setting was completed during the SKIP task 1, prompt 1. Copy and paste unless there is a need to edit. And just always remember to strive for accomplished work. That's already done for you. You're going to use it in your final document. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is task 1 of the SIAP. It's called the School Data project. Now, you've been working with school data the whole time that you've been in this program. You've got lots of it in there. This is what you're going to do. You're going to lead a professional team of educators. And this is a combination of or all of your established PLC, your school improvement team, your administration, etc., and an analysis of school data that will assist the team to formulate the following. Now, I realize that having people in the summer is not as accessible as it is during the school year. So you'll have to be creative and use what you can find, but you must have a team to present to, and you must be able to present to your administration at a minimum. But this is what you're formulating. You're formulating a clear image of the school's academic accomplishments, and secondly, the opportunities for growth. You're doing two things. What has the school done well? You're going to accentuate all of those positives. You're going to talk about that. And then you're going to look at, these are all the good things we're doing, but these are areas that we need help in, areas for improvement. So you're just going to put it all out on the table. You should be specific and you should be deliberate in what you're doing. Now, the next part is vitally important. Areas that you must include, non-negotiable, but this is not all, but we will expect to see these, and there should be headings, clear, bold-faced headings that talks about the attendance at your school. A clear, bold-faced heading that talks about discipline at your school. You're going to talk about it, and you're going to show some data as it relates to these areas in your school. Power School has all of that information. You're going to talk about standardized test results, which you've done 100 times already in this section. You're going to talk about benchmark test results in this section. And then you're going to talk about any other data determined essential that's going to tell the story about your school. Now, remember, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It doesn't matter. This is your opportunity. This is your school improvement plan, action plan. So you're going to talk about all of it. Note, you're going to disaggregate the data by subgroups. Now, early on, remember we had those special sections where Dr. Lamb talked about EBOS. You're going to especially use EBOS talking about the subgroups in your school. Utilizing EBOS or other data analysis tools that's going to measure academic progress, but the EBOS language must be in there to set appropriate academic goals and expectations to assure each student at a minimal meets or exceeds expected growth. You know, realistically, a child's supposed to get a year's worth of growth in a year's time. So realistically, that's what we have to look at when we're looking at it, at academic growth for our students. The school data project will be the foundation of the school improvement action plan. When you go to the task 1, you're building the foundation for your school improvement plan. And guess who it's all about? It's all about the students. It's about the children that we work with, the children that we serve. Now, make sure that you do the following. Clearly convey leadership, your leadership of a collaborative team and an analysis of the school's academic standing utilizing many data sources. Make sure it clearly shows that you are leading a team and not doing this by yourself. The evaluator is going to look strongly at this. If necessary, you have to plan a Zoom meeting with those stakeholders who, whatever you have to do. You've got to pull a team together and you've got to show your leadership. Your narrative work must show evidence of effectively communicating findings to the school improvement team and administration clearly and accurately. There's some strong language here, but again, This is the culmination of all that you've done, and your strong leadership has got to be evidenced in the work that you do. You're going to use subgroups to reflect on current status of academic progress and set appropriate academic goals. In other words, this is where we are, and this is where we need to go. And expectations to assure that each student at a minimum meets or exceeds expected growth. Again, your best source for this information is from EPOS. Now, I've given you some cheat sheets down here. This is important. Pay attention, everybody look. The following evidences are where you can find information for task 1 that may have already been completed. Now, remember I said you could go back any work that you've already done. You go to the APSL. When you go to task 1 through 3, you will find a lot of the information embedded in the work that you've already done in those 3 tasks that you'll be able to use in completing the work that we just talked about. Be sure to add EVOS if it was not included in your analysis in the APSL. Where else? You go to the OMA, task 1 and 2, you'll find information that you need. And then you're going to go to the CAAP, task 1 and 2. They also may have some attendance and disciplinary data in there. Now, if it's not in there, you've got to find it and you've got to put it in there based on your school. But that information must be in there. This is, again, this is where you'll find most of what you need already in work that you've done. Again, you can copy and paste from there, but it can't be just simply taking the whole document and putting it in there and say, I've done. It must flow. It must tell a story. And when you put work in there, those of you that teach language arts, literacy, you know that when they write a story, you tell them the transition sentences and the transition words that you need. It must connect. When I read it, it can't be chopped. One thing leads to the other. And again, you're telling the story about your school. So it's important that you make sure that your transitions are there. Task 2. Teacher Working Condition Survey Analysis Project, or if you're in South Carolina, the Advanced Ed Analysis Project, or it's called Cognia now, C-O-G-N-I-A. But you've worked with these 2 instruments, you have worked with them over and over and over again throughout the semester. In task 2 of the SIAP, you will continue leading your team of professional educators in an analysis of the elements of the Teacher Working Conditions Survey in North Carolina or the Advanced Ed in South Carolina, and any other data that are used by the school improvement team that will assist in drafting, monitoring, and revising the existing school improvement plan. Remember, you're going to be leading and providing data that will be presented in an effort for this school improvement team and the administration at least to see a need to implement the recommended changes that you're making. You've done a lot of work, and it's a lot of valid work, and we want it to count for something. So you're going to present it in such a way that you're hoping that they're going to take it and they're going to move forward with it. You're going to create a visual display that identifies data sources and clearly identifies specific findings from each of the sources. So you're going to write about it and you're going to show it like you've done in all of the work that you've been doing all along. You may already have it in some of the places. If it is, then use it. If you don't have it, then you create it. You're going to use your own creativity for the visual display. The Teacher Working Condition Survey Analysis Project or Advanced Ed project will include the visual display outlined in the task 2 directions, video evidence that findings were presented to peers. The peers could be any combination of your PLC, school improvement team, administration, and any available staff from your school. Again, This will more than likely have to be done via a Zoom presentation. And I would say have a PowerPoint ready and put your PowerPoint in there and use that as evidence as well that you have presented to a team of your peers and to your administration. A reflection of the usefulness of the display as it relates to student achievement and school goal attainment is going to be necessary. It must be evident whenever we look at your work. Now, the following evidences are where you can find information for task 2 that may have already been completed. When you go to CAAP, task 1 through 4, the whole CAAP, you will find most everything that you need already done in the CAAP that you'll need to pull from that. You don't need to pull the entire CAAP, but you will pull from the CAAP, task 1 through 4, what you need to complete the work for task 2 of the SIAP. You can also find some of what you need in the SKIP task 1 prompt 2. So whatever you need from the CAAP and from the SKIP task 1 prompt 2, you pull it, you can copy it, you can paste it in there and make sure that it makes sense when you put it in there, because you're providing the narrative work and the transition work that ties it all together and it flows. Task 3, a focus group project. You're going to assemble a team of stakeholders that represent both internal and external school communities. In other words, people who work in the school, parents, faith-based partners, and business leaders from the community. You determine who this is, and you determine how how you're going to do this. And the whole thing is for the purpose of conducting a focus group, which is qualitative research on the findings of the school data project from task 1, the teacher working conditions analysis project, or advanced ed project from task 2. So the work you do in task 1 and task 2, you're going to talk about this to a focus group. You're going to share this information with a focus group. There will probably be questions, discussions that will happen. You're going to narratively talk about, this focus group. Who's in this group? What kind of you're going to show evidence of your presentation. You're going to talk about, what happened when you talked to this group. What were some of the questions that arose from it? What did you conclude from meeting with this group? If you can conduct this face-to-face at your school, then move forward. If you can't, then you set up a Zoom session and you record it, or you show evidence that you have met, with a group of people, and you decide who that group of people is going to be. Again, task 3 is that you are clearly talking about everything that you've done in task 1 and 2, based on these are the good and bad and the ugly of my school, and then everything that you've done with the teacher working condition survey as it relates to what it looks like at your school as well. Again, this is where you can find help with all this. In task 3, you can go to the SKIP. Task 1 prompts 1 and 2 will help you. SKIP task 2, the prompt will help you. And the CAAP, all of task 1 through 4, you'll find the information that you need there as well. So that's where you go and find this information. Then task 4, you will develop a document that specifies availability of resources. That's human, people, and fiscal, the money and those kinds of resources. Who is already available to help make this happen, and what kind of financial assistance is there to already make this happen to support the school improvement plan. In other words, what is already there that will support all the recommendations for task 1 through 3 of the SIAP up to this point. You will also provide a plan for acquiring needed resources, human and fiscal. If it's not there, What's the plan to find these people or to find these fiscal resources to support the school improvement plan? Remember, it's a plan. Again, this narrative and graphic organizer will include all the necessary resources, human and fiscal, for the SIAP task 1 through 3. So everything that you talk about in 1 through 3 is going to be, you're going to figure out in task 4, who's going to do it and how we're going to do it. What's there, what isn't there. And this is where you can find help with that. This will include the human and fiscal resources necessary to implement the action plan from evidence 1 in the APSL, the growth plan from evidence 2 of the APTEL, the marketing plan from the SCIP and the teacher working condition survey analysis project or advanced ed project from the CAAP. So you've got all this already done that's going to help you figure out what to do. And if it's not there, then you put it there. Then task 5. The candidate will produce a graphic or organizer that clearly illustrates the following: the data that's been collected and analyzed, the major strengths and opportunities for improvement identified by the stakeholders, and the relationships that each of these have with specific areas of student achievement. Now, you've done all these plans already. What you're going to do, the recommendation is that you take all these plans and you organize them and you put them together into one big final plan using the same graphic organizer and that model that you used all along. You just creatively do what is necessary for you to complete this project, but you're putting it all together because this is the culmination of what you've done. This is your school improvement action plan. So you're taking all the pieces now and you're putting them all together in one document. Then task 6. All along, you have been working with 21 competencies. Some of the time you would do half of them one evidence, the other half the next evidence. This time you are addressing all 21 competencies, but you're going to do them a little bit differently. You are going to reflect on the on your experience by critically assessing personal development by fusing your course content with the clinical experience in relation to the 21 North Carolina standards for school executive competencies that were evidenced by you, the candidate. You must cite sources and clinical experiences that influence a self-analysis of each competency addressed through the SIAP or overall MELS experience. Now, this is very, very similar. In a small sense, it's very similar to some of the work that you're going to be doing for Dr. Revis for your competency folio. The only thing you've got to do is, though, with this is you've got to address communication. You've got to reflect on communication as it relates to completing the SIAP or the MELS experience. You're culminating with, and you're going to cite at least one example of what you're talking about. You're going to do the same thing with change management. You're going to reflect on it. You're going to reflect on all 3 semesters, the work that you've done. And then you're going to tie it into, the culmination of what you're doing now. And again, an example for each one. You're going to do all 21 of these, again, as a reflection, and you're going to provide a relevant example as it relates to either the work you've done or either your clinical experience at your school. And then you're going to conclude with a comprehensive reference section, APA. You're going to go back and all that you have done and the previous references 1 through 5, you're going to put them together, use the APA style, you're going to put them together into one reference section. And then again, the appendices will reflect one appendices, putting all of them that you use in your final document together into one appendices at the end. I want you to know the SIAP is a very detailed and comprehensive document. Again, you must spend a lot of time. Let me come out of this. Let me stop share. I know that's a lot. That is a whole lot, but it's not as bad as it looks once you begin tearing it apart and digesting it and realizing I've got all of this. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but you've got a lot of it already. So I want you to realize that you're not having to go find all this stuff. So I don't want you to stress over that. You've got a lot of this work, if not all of it, already. And you've just got to pull it together and figure out where it goes, how it goes together. And remember, it must flow from the beginning to the end. It's telling your story. It's telling the story of your school. And you want this to be something that is very functional, something that you're proud of, and something that when you present it, you want your administration and your team to say, wow, you know, this is something that we can use to move our schools forward. Okay, I'm dried out right now. Have I scared anybody to death at this point? I see. I knew you were going to shake your head. Yes, Sarah. You're going to do fine, Sarah. You too, Felicia. All of you are going to do well with it. Diane's smiling, and Hope always smiles. Latasha halfway smiles. Penny hides behind her. She hides a little bit. And Michelle, once in a while, she's serious about it. So I know she's internalizing all this stuff. All of you, I can read all of you a little bit. But anyway, you're going to do well. Ask me questions at this point because I want to turn Dr. Revis loose in just a minute. It's a lot, but now some of you will see Michelle and Ashley were already at the place they needed to get started on this, which they probably have already on their own begun to look at this. Michelle and Ashley, because I know both of you are there, did this help make a little more sense as you're moving into this already? Did it help open your eyes a little bit to what you've got to do? Both of you open up and talk a little bit.
Yeah, and the document is very helpful too. Like you said, it's just going back and making sure that it connects all together.
Okay. So how I said it, because I know you've already gone ahead, both of you have gone ahead. How I've said things, does it make sense as to what you've got to do, your next steps now?
Yes.
Okay, Ashley, you okay?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a lot. So I just gotta start working. That's all.
Okay, good. That's a good attitude, Ashley. Good attitude. I will pick back up on this next week, but I felt like it was necessary to take the whole thing and, you know, give it to you. I wanted you to have the whole elephant right now. So you got the whole elephant. Now your job is to try to eat that elephant one bite at a time. Okay? If you eat it one bite at a time and you do what I've given you, I promise you. How many times have I told you I promise you this semester? I promise you, you'll be all right. Okay?
Can I just ask about submitting?
Sure.
So for, like I see for week 6, it says to be working on assignment 6 and tasks 1 through 6 for the SIAP. And then week 7 says to continue working on tasks 1 through 6. And then in week 8, it says to upload tasks 1 through 3. But you also showed us where you inserted that tonight. Do we do?
Yeah, and I did that on purpose, Michelle, because I think that, and I didn't create this, I wouldn't have done that had I set up the class. I like it. I felt like it was necessary for me to see your task one at a time, and that I didn't want you to get to the point that you had 3 tasks and then I had to send you all the way back to start all over again with something. So the task one at a time, and then that kind of paces you, because where it says 1 through 3, by that time, by that date, all 3 of those tasks must be finished. Now, and I think that, you know, when it was first done, the first semester I taught this class, and this was already done like that, I realized that by the time students got to that place, that some of them were still back at square one. This helps me kind of still guide the boat. Some people need more structure than others, and this allows me to have structure, and it allows me the opportunity at the end of the week to send those emails that I sent out and say, this is where you need to be. You know, although they'll all be submitted, I will expect them all to be completed by that time. I need to see them one at a time. Okay, thank you for asking that. Okay, Dr. Revis, if you would, I'm going. Can you share your screen, or you want me to find that and share my screen with the assignment 11?
I can, but I don't have anything pulled up.
Let me do it. Let me do it.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk to a while.
Just as a finishing, out about the SIAP, the people who have the most trouble with this are the people who just take and copy and paste. We will send it back to you and send it back to you until you've got to align it to your rubric. And if you will go by those helpful hints, I promise you're going to be okay. You are not just copying and pasting the APSA 1 through 3. You are extracting data and information that you need in order to do your work for your SIAP. So, you know, if you'll just kind of think of it along the lines, you've got to meet the rubric here, just like you've met it before, then you're going to be okay. But if you just start trying to copy and paste the APSA 1 through 3 and the CAAP 1 through 4, you're going to have a mess. Trust me, you will have a mess. So go by your helpful hints. And again, reach out to me if I can help you in any way. I'll be glad to. But I do like the way Dr. Stedman goes one task at a time, because if you get to task 3 and turn it in and then something's wrong in task 1, you know, your task 3 is going to be incorrect. So go one at a time with it.
Okay.
Now, if you're not overwhelmed enough already, let's look at the assignment 11, which is your culminating activity as it relates to the digital competencies. So there are 5 North Carolina digital competencies, and there are 4 Zoom team groups. So each group is going to be assigned to one competency, except for the team 4, and you're going to have 2 that you have to do. But I will tell you this: you can do it because it's doable to put those 2 together. So here's what you do. As a team, you are a PLC that your principal has put together to delve into your digital competency, and you're going to unpack that competency, and you're going to examine data, and you're going to build recommendations for your school improvement plan. So the first thing you have to do as a team is decide on a team leader. You can have someone volunteer or twist arms or whatever, but you're going, as a team, you're going to look at school data sets. So whoever's the team leader, if I'm the team leader, we're going to use my school data. We're going to use our school data from the school report card, my school data for the teacher working conditions survey, from the advanced ed data, whatever data, we're going to pretend our PLC is using my school data. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Okay, all right. So once you do that, then you start unpacking your particular competency. Dr. Simmons, scroll back. I want to go and look at competency 5, and let's just look at that together. And the reason I want to look at competency 5 is because that team does have 2 competencies. So let's play together and unpack this. Let me move some things around on my screen so I can see it clearly. All right, the community. Administrators will engage all stakeholders in the purpose and function of the school, leveraging multiple types and points of connection and communication to ensure the constant and effective flow of information and input. So you're going to engage stakeholders in how we have a constant and effective flow of information and input. Well, if you remember in the SIAP, guys, you did some stakeholder surveys about communication, and also in your advanced ed work, you've got advanced ed parent surveys that you can use some information from there, because you're wanting to increase that flow of information and input from your parents and community using digital format. So second thing, model responsibility using technology, but not limited to, including but not limited to communication, social, ethical, legal, and global issues. So how are we going to do that? What kind of recommendations and what does that look like? Facilitate and leverage effective partnerships between the school and the greater community. So it's not just your parents, but it's the greater community as well, including local, state, and global communities. So again, you're building strategies based on data to improve that communication and partnership between the school and the greater community. To improve the organization opportunities available to staff and students in support of digital learning. Leverage online communication channels to create and maintain open discourse and collaboration with our external stakeholders. Okay, so you take it and unpack it. The data that this team is going to really focus on, though, for this particular competency would be the data that I pulled about my parent information from my parents about communication and collaboration and sharing and giving input. I remember that most of you, when you did this work, your parents, most parents will tell you they don't feel like they have input on decision making. Well, how can we leverage our digital formats in order to garner and gain that input from our community and our parents? Any questions? So that's just one example of how you would go through and you would unpack that competency and determine what kind of recommendations, what kind of data and recommendations you're going to build to present to your school improvement team, which will be our whole class.
And Dr. Revis, as I'm listening to you, if it's work that you've already done with some of your evidence work, it's okay to pull any of that work into this that you've got. I mean, don't reinvent the wheel if you've already got stuff that you can pull in. And I think that you've got a lot of stuff you can pull in these areas. Okay.
Remember, it has to be data driven. So, but depending on your competency, your data may be more heavily, if you're doing content and instruction, you're going to pull a lot of student performance and student growth data, right? And that's what data that you're going to use to build your strategies and recommendations to your school improvement team. And remember that we're all talking about digital learning environments and digital learning competencies. So it's how we build and strengthen these areas through our digital media.
And you know what, Dr. Revis, I mean, this past year has taught us how essential it is to be able to do this and have a plan in place for all of this.
Well, most definitely. And I think this year, and I think we all have to take some time to reflect on this year. It's been a very, very difficult year for everybody, teachers, staff, students, and parents. But I would say one of the benefits that I have seen come out of this is that it has really forced teachers and administrators to get up to speed with technology and digital learning. We've had to. And I don't know that we would ever have gotten to where we were had we not been forced to. So I always try to look for the silver lining in a cloud, and that has to be it for all of us, is that we've had to be dependent on our digital format. And it's forced us to become more confident in it, or we would not have survived. So anyway, that's my little sermonette about this. So the last, is it our last class where they're going to be presenting these?
Yes, this is week 11. And the reason we saved this for last is you will have all your other stuff will have been submitted. You'll be through with everything. You won't have anything else, but this will be the last thing that you do, you know, following submitting all the other work that has deadlines with it.
And I think that last night, we're going to start our class meeting at 6 o'clock so
6
we
o'clock,
can
yeah.
get through
Mhm.
the presentations. So each group will have at least 25 minutes. You don't have to take the whole 25 minutes, but you are pretending that we are your school improvement plan. We're your school improvement team. We are your audience. And so you're going to show us the data. Remember, we always start, everything we do in school should be data driven. We always start with a data analysis. And then you build from there. You show areas of strength and opportunities for growth. And those opportunities for growth are the areas in which you are going to make your recommendations to your school improvement team.
Okay. And I know.
So if you have any questions, go ahead.
Okay. You keep going in and
If
out.
you have any
Dr. Revis.
questions on that, I'm sorry.
That's
If
okay.
you have
Keep
any
going in and
questions
out.
on that, okay. If you have any questions, just be sure and reach out to me.
And what we'll do, I know it was a lot tonight, but we felt like we needed to go ahead and put it out there. What we'll do is you take your time and look at this, think about it, jot notes down about it, begin thinking about how you're going to work with your team with it, and then be ready to ask us questions next week. We're going to be, from this point on, it's going to be very informal. Again, I'm going to keep talking about, you know, where you are with the SIAP, let you ask questions, because I know there's going to be questions. And the same thing, Dr. Revis will be available to answer questions about this culminating project that they're doing as well. But I will tell you, week 8, when week 8 work is due with the Strengths Finders book, we're going to spend most of our time talking about that. You know, just open discussion about that. There's a lot of discussion from that, and it's a big assignment. So I want to make sure that we give it the quality time that it needs. And then week 10 is devoted completely to Dr. Lamb, who's going to be doing, you know, some professional training with you on how to interview and some things to do. So we've got some good things in line for you as we're, you know, towards, as we bring closure to it and all that you've done. Remember my analogy, the very first night that we plowed to the end of the row. Just don't give up. Don't just know that there is an end to the road and you will get there. I promise you that. Any questions before we sign out tonight? And let's pray over this and pray that that it recorded like it's supposed to. I have no idea what happened last week. It said it recorded, but when I tried to turn it into a video, I never could make it. It never would do anything for me. But anyway, I don't want that to be the case tonight because we covered a lot of stuff. Okay. Well, reach out to us if you need us this week. You know you're gonna hear from me if I need to. I told you I'm not gonna stop. But those that are not here, if you have any connection with them, if they didn't show up tonight, you let them know how important it is that they watch this video as soon as possible. Okay. Call us if you need us. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Revis.
Good night. Good night.